Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian did to Aaron Mate is unforgivable as far as I'm concerned. I think it was not just reprehensible. I think it's something that should end their program, because when you go down that road, there is no road you won't go down for the right price. And that is the danger of being a journalist. You know, people talk about, well, why didn't Assange just give up his give up his source? And I'm thinking, because if Assange did give up his source, no matter how bad people may have wanted him to do that, that would have been it. No one would have been able to trust a journal, a reputable outlet ever again to release their information. There would never be another Pentagon Papers type situation or a WikiLeaks type situation. And for, Cenk and Anna to do what they did, especially Anna, I wish people would understand that you got to get Jimmy out of the conversation and just focus on what actually happened here. To attack a journalist in the fashion that they did, I mean, I have no words. I really don't. And I can only imagine, as a journalist like yourself, Jordan Chariton, who is a good friend of mine, friend of the show, obviously shared his sentiments in the same regard. We must protect people who are doing, as the honest work, the work that really matters, especially going out into the field. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, yeah, in the same way that I believe we should be clear about Julian Assange, and I don't ever say whether you think Julian Assange is a journalist or not, and then launch into what I have to say. And when I say Julian Assange is a journalist, it actually matters. It's important to the conversation. It's not something we should concede that it's debatable, because first off, it's factually incorrect that he isn't one, because he's a dues-paying member to the International Federation of Journalists. So, not that you need to have a card to be a journalist. A journalist is something it's an act you perform. You become a journalist when you perform the act of journalism.
You mean you didn't get your membership card? You didn't get your membership card? I got mine a long time ago. You need to get a card. There's a special card that you have to carry, and if you don't have it, you don't qualify. So I'm just telling you.
Yeah. No, I know Jim Acosta has one, and Luke Harding's got one too. It means you can lie about things that happened at the Ecuador embassy for the rest of your life and never lose your job at the Guardian. But yeah, so I think we should be clear, and there's not a whole lot more that needs to be said other than the fact that Aaron Mate, who has been a guest on my show, who I respect, who did award-winning work, digging into the investigation by Special Counsel Robert Mueller, who's done fantastic work staying on top of this thing that has gotten him smeared, the OPCW whistleblower revelations / OPCW scandal around whatever happened in Doma, Syria. He's owed an apology. He's owed an apology. And it was fair. It was fair for Jimmy Dore to demand an apology. I'll say that much. And there's really not much more that needs to be said. Obviously it's metastasized. It's now seems to bring in a whole lot of different players who have expressed their opinions. And then as people believe that those opinions are invalid, then it seems like we're piling on them and suggesting that they're not allowed to engage in the discussion. It's really unfortunate that certain people who have stepped forward to offer their opinions are just getting backlash for having a view about what went on between the two. But I mean, the basic thing is that he's owed an apology and he still hasn't gotten one. And I think it's fair for him to challenge Anna Kasparian and even Cenk until he gets an apology. And the other problem that they have, which they won't admit, is that they started this and they can't really end it until an apology is offered. So, it's pretty simple.
If he files a suit against them for slander, then maybe they'll consider retracting their statement, because the reality is that they were making some pretty serious accusations. Now, those of us in the reality world know that that's silly and that they have now fallen the way of, like, they might as well be QAnon as far as I'm concerned. But, it's like he actually could have a case if not for the fact that we know it's ridiculous, right? Like, but what they're saying are legitimate, like, first of all, factual and or not. So that's something that can be proven. So if you're going to call someone out as getting money from somewhere or being on the payroll of someone, then you need to back that up. And obviously they can't, because he doesn't, because this is ridiculous.
And I also do think, I mean, this is just my personal opinion. I do think Aaron should sue. And the reason I think he should sue is because we have to put this Russiagate nonsense to bed. It has to go to bed. It has been this was a hatched conspiracy when WikiLeaks dropped the emails from the 2016 primary.
Yeah.
There was always going to be a distraction to make you look in the other direction of what was actually going on. And when you say, well, Aaron is paid by the Russians, that's slander.
Yes.
Slander. And if you can't prove it, then you need to be made an example of. And they in particular should be made an example of, because so much of what they do is driven by money, no different than corporate media. Jimmy is a bull in a china shop. When he gets his mind set on something, he doesn't let it go, and he's not going to let it go, and he won't let it go until he, sees them basically, dead and buried. I hate saying it that way, but in a way, that's just kind of what it's come to at this point, because they're not going to apologize unless they're forced to. I just don't see that happening. And I think that the whole, again, we are huge fans of Kyle. I think, Secular Talk is one of the best shows that you're going to find. And I think he tried to do the best he could, in terms of a balancing act, but it's just gotten so far out of sight, out of mind at this point. And I do worry about the fracturing that's happening, because we really didn't get involved in any way in this whole mess. We went after Anna. We made her one of our bootlickers of the week, and rightfully so. But the whole drama that has been going on, and again, the reason why this is now really coming to a head is because Kyle just left TYT. He's no longer affiliated with them. And that is a big deal. And
I agree with our producer, John, who's saying, oh, God, we're still talking about this. I agree.
I just thought it was an important topic to bring up. But thanks for raining on my parade, because I'm
so sick of talking about Jimmy Dore. I'm so sick of hearing about him.
So then, Jen, you'll appreciate me forwarding the opinion of my dear friend, Rania Khalek, who says that, basically all these shows, I'm including my own show as well. We spent an hour talking about it one day, but we are all benefiting from this feud. And in fact, some of us, I believe, are monetizing this in a way that is actually distracting from some very real and important issues. So that's a view I simultaneously hold. I think Aaron has a right to do what he's doing, but let me just say, Aaron is fully capable of doing this independently without a lot of assistance from us. I think between Aaron and Jimmy, that they if anyone's going to extract through like a war of attrition, a retraction from Cenk and Anna, it's going to be them.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll mention, and Jen, you're probably not even aware of this, Anna went after Rania the other day. Basically tried to disqualify Rania as basically not doing real journalism, and that she needs to check her sources for the exact words that were used to describe the work that Anna has been doing, Rania has been doing with Breakthrough News. So the idea that, like I said, this isn't going to stop. That's one of the reasons why I felt that it was necessary to bring this up, because Aaron did initially say, yeah, I'm actually considering taking legal action, because they threw Assange under the bus, and now they're throwing Aaron under the bus, and now they're throwing Rania under the bus. I mean, at some point, you got to say, this is really getting out of hand now, and it is dangerous. Like I said, that's the whole point, and that's the whole point about not speaking up in defense of Julian Assange, regardless of what you think of him as a person, regardless of where it falls politically, there is the slippery slope cannot be overstated in regards to protecting our First Amendment rights and the freedom of speech and the freedom of the press. And that is really what's at hand here. And when I see these other groups, kind of going down that road, it's like, well, there it is. There's the slippery slope. And before you know it, you won't have any rights anymore.
Yeah. Well, so the problem is basically this tension that's been exposed, where it's the group that's progressive left, except for anywhere outside the United States. It's just like what you see are these people who want to allow any sort of U.S. intervention and interference and meddling and regime change operations, and they aren't willing to question what the military and security agencies are doing in the way that Julian Assange and Chelsea Manning exposed. And that's how we bring it all back to the conversation in which we started, is that these people are profoundly uncomfortable, in the same way that let's just be really honest here, the same way that Bernie Sanders and AOC and some of the most beloved Justice Democrats are uncomfortable with having these conversations, because it just is something in which they can be smeared like this. We see it. And in fact, it's really sad, because what they're doing is exactly what you get from being on corporate media. You would expect for Aaron Mate to go on CNN and be smeared in this way. You would hope that people who were holding themselves out as progressive media would not deploy the same kind of smears.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.